All right, the next two we'll kind of talk about in at the same time. It was week 10 and 11, based off of Jocko Willink's books, Dichotomy of Leadership and Extreme Ownership. So the dichotomy of leadership is the skill of balancing opposing qualities to effectively lead. And extreme ownership, as leaders, we don't make excuses. We take ownership even when others don't. So in the last, I guess this has been almost 3 months, 3 months long. Have you had anything happen at work or outside of work where you had to take ownership of something that went wrong that maybe wasn't your fault?
Not particularly. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen where
Mm-hmm.
I'd be willing to take the ownership because almost everything I do, I have to take ownership of as a
Right.
supervisor, right? And so,
Right.
um, and it's not always my fault, but sometimes I feel like if we can both take ownership in it,
Mm-hmm.
then no one's looking to point fingers at each other. No one's
Right.
looking to think. Really, what's happening? I'm looking to improve the situation
Correct.
by
Yeah.
trying to say I have a part in this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also with extreme ownership and leadership, as far as building people up. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you have to really think about the person that you're building up.
Yeah.
What do they need? What do they need to hear? We all need to be disciplined, but we all need to be encouraged. So
Right.
uh, that dichotomy, right? There's an
Mm-hmm.
extreme
Yeah.
scale going left or right. So that you can't always be encouraging if you need to discipline, right?
Yeah.
But discipline doesn't always. I mean, it almost sounds like a bad word.
It's
Discipline.
got the bad
Yeah.
the connotation of discipline is
Yeah.
bad, but discipline is your best friend.
I guess people like to use constructive criticism, right? But I mean, either
Right.
way. Um,
Oh man, Proverbs is full, especially I think 13 of correction and accepting correction. Like yeah,
so
it's
one of
got a
the
lot of
shows I
that.
like to watch right now is I think it's on his last season, which is The Good Doctor. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if you watched it, but anyways, it's about an autistic surgeon,
Mm-hmm.
and he happens to get. They're coming to the last of the season. I mean, the last season, and it happens to get he gets another autistic surgeon in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's a resident. He's an attendee,
Yeah.
and of course, his brain is wired to like this is the way it's going to happen, and it's the way it needs to happen, and all his people are listening to him because he's in charge.
Yeah.
But the problem is that this new girl comes in with autism, and her brain's completely wired a different way,
Yeah.
and she's more of an actor, and or doer. She wants to get involved before
Yeah.
thinking about it, and he's having a hard time with her, and they're like, all the discipline that he's giving is just making her really angry and upset and sad. And I'm like, can you think about doing a compliment sandwich, right? Tell her something that
Yeah,
she's
tell
doing
something
good,
good.
and then something that she's not doing well,
Yeah.
and then tell her something that she's doing
Yeah,
good.
we
And
call it the
so,
sandwich at Nicaragua. Yeah.
but I mean that is that's a basic principle of how to maneuver through that dichotomy of trying to like I think we said I was telling you last week or the week before whenever we did it, it's like a river that's flowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you stay in discipline, you're just going to that ecosystem is not going to be flowing through there. It's going to be stagnant. Yeah. There's no life in non-moving water, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you have to be able to flow back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Although a river really only flows one way, but
right. But yeah, the point is it's moving. Yeah. We talked about in extreme ownership. If you are taking responsibility for something that happened, what else are you taking responsibility for? Like, let's say something happened, something went wrong, right? I'm like, hey, you know what? This was my fault. Like, you can take the blame for things. Like, it's hard to stand up for that. I remember hearing a video like, hey, are you going to raise your hand just as fast for criticism when things go wrong? Just as fast as you do for praise. And so one of the important things is like you can do that, but that only works for so long. If I'm going to take responsibility, I'm going to take ownership for something. I'm also taking ownership of the solution.
Right.
And so that's the second half of it that I think a lot of people, oh yeah, I'll take the blame for that. Like Bill O'Brien, right? Oh, it's my fault we lost this week. Okay, it's your fault. Like, can you fix the team now? Like, we've gone through years of like the Texans being horrible. Like, we know it's your fault. Now fix it, right? And that's a frustrating thing. So, like the safety thing that happened at work when I blew up the tube. I took ownership of it. I was like, you know what, this is my fault. This is, and then, using the root cause analysis, this is what I think the root causes were for this incident,
Right.
and this is how I will correct them.
I mean, even thinking about, it's coming back to mind where Jocko was talking about how he had went through that, I can't remember, it was some kind of mission they went on.
But that debriefing one. Yeah, the Iraqi soldier.
Killed, and he was said, okay, whose fault was it? And he was going page after page after page of whose fault and detail and how everybody messed up. And then he had to think about the solution is not to say how everybody
at the point you messed up or you messed up.
The solution was he was in command. It didn't go right. At the end of the day, all the leadership fell on him. Yeah. But when he went to present that, everyone else started raising their hand saying, this was my fault. Yeah. I didn't do this right. I didn't do this. They didn't let him fall on his sword. Right? They let him, they took the blame with him. And he said at that point where he thought he was done. Yeah. Now the military was going to be done with him. He actually got promoted. Yeah. Because of the integrity that he held to say, this was my fault because I was in charge. Oh yeah. No other reason. Yeah. But just because I was in charge. Yeah.
Imagine if he'd thrown somebody under the bus. Would they respect him anymore? Probably not.
And I mean, it ain't hard to tell that he became a great leader after that. I mean. Yeah. Because now he knew the truth instead of sitting on a lie saying you can't say those things because it's going to ruin you. Yeah. Oh, but the enemy he'll try to get in there and be like, hey, this is going to not go in your favor and try to use that against you. And I'm sure everything didn't feel good about that situation.
I bet just none of it felt good.
The unknowing of what's going to happen. But then trusting that integrity was the right thing to do.
Dude, I was worried when they were like, hey, can you come to my office? I'm like, oh no. I was like, man, I really like this job. And I told myself before that, I was like, I'm going to be honest. Like, one of the most important aspects or qualities of the work that I do is not the skills that I have. It's not the ability to produce work. It's the integrity behind what I am. Like, because we're dealing with stuff that could take, that we're working on stuff that somebody's life depends on eventually, and I don't know if I can talk about it now, but we're working on some projects, and like I'm gonna have some stuff that's gonna go to space, like, and people are gonna depend on it, right? And so if my integrity that I'm gonna do the right thing at the right time, and if I don't think this is right, I'm gonna put a stop to it. I think that's the highest value, and I think the enemy wants to try to get in there and be like, try to twist it like, no, don't take the blame for that. This is what's going to happen, and try to use, I guess, that pride or whatever against you. But when he talked about how everybody rose their hands, like, it was my fault. No, it's my fault. And he was like, no, it's my fault. That made everyone in his team respect him way more. And like the bonds on that. And if I went in and threw that dude under the bus that basically trained me on a lot of my stuff, like, that work relationship would be super strained. And the hard thing is, like, he's a good dude too. Like, he's a good guy, and we ask so many questions. And we always joke, we call him our big brother. He's like, because we're the little brothers. He's, hey, why? And I don't want to do that to that guy. Like, that's a good guy. So, yeah, it's interesting. Any other thoughts on extreme ownership or dichotomy of leadership?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So, one of the main points, just to reiterate, that we talked about was everything is a dichotomy, right? There's a scale. At one end you have this extreme, and at the other end you have this extreme, and you got to know when to move that bar up and down. You talk about discipline and correction and encouragement. Sometimes, some people, and it depends on the people, right? Everybody's a little different. Some people can be ridden a little harder. Some people you got to be a little more suave, a little more soft with them.
Yeah, so that's where that relational equity comes in, or what you call what was it that you called?
Oh, leadership capital.
Leadership capital, right? So you know that person by building a relationship, and now you know how to deal with them. And I've had it to where people are all like, where I'm like, oh, no, I'm not gonna say that because it's gonna hurt your feelings, and they're like, no, go ahead and tell me, because even though they knew it might sting a little bit, they knew that the truth is.
They trusted you in where it was going to come from.
and that I wasn't there to criticize them.
Yeah.
I was there to help them improve a situation.
Right.
Right.
The one thing about leadership capital, since you brought that up, that I liked, I don't know if I mentioned it, but we're all underneath another authority, even no matter what we are. Like, I have a lead, then I have my boss, he's got a boss, that kind of stuff. Leadership capital works really well going up the chain. Like, if you're always going up the chain, like this, and this, then when something important happens, they're like, John's just being John.
Mm.
But if you're, not always going up, and then all of a sudden you bring attention to something, it holds more weight. And so going up the chain of command, the leadership capital is really, really important. But it's important in your team as well. So I don't know if I'd mentioned that. So that was that.